The following programming may have stuff that might be offensive, so parental guidance is kind of sort of really recommended. In that case, guide your parents out of the room, and we're going to have some fun. Welcome to Quentin's Enginewerks.
Quentin's Enginewerks, more than meets the eye.
Greetings, everybody. Happy holidays. Welcome to a special edition of Quentin's Enginewerks. Today, I've got Mr. Peter Taylor, a creator from over in London, with us. Hi, Peter. So kind of a warm-up question I like to ask everybody. We all have our personal Mount Rushmore, our top four of fandom and whatnot. For me, it's G.I. Joe, Transformers, He-Man, and Star Wars. For you, who makes your top four?
Oh my goodness! Oh, you could have prepped me to a question like that, Quentin. I would probably say, being English, Judge Dredd, probably still on the top of my list in terms of characters that I love. I do love me some Batman, although I don't read weekly Batman anymore. Also like some Star Wars. Watched the closing episode of Andor last night and was absolutely bowled over by it. No spoilers here, but I just absolutely thought it was a cut above anything that I've seen in Star Wars in years, and I've enjoyed it all. It just, something really, really impressive. And a fourth, I would say, being a little smarmy, all the indie stuff I've been getting into over the last few years.
Nothing wrong with that. There is no judgment on that. That we all have, like I say, for better or for worse, whatever your reason, we all have our personal favorites. You were talking about Batman. Have you checked out the they've been doing about once a month. It's been Batman one bad day with where they're doing a short story about some of the different basically going through the rogues gallery. Those have been very good. I'm in the middle of writing about one about the Penguin right now.
Oh, really? No, I think I've seen them advertised. Because I'm old and don't tend to spend a lot of time in comic stores anymore. I tend to wait for collected versions. It's pretty rare that I kind of fell out of the habit a little bit a few years ago, and then it got worse with COVID. A few of my we only had 2 comic stores within traveling distance from me. At least one of those has gone now, and the other one shut down for a long time. So I kind of got out of the the weekly box habit. So no, I've not picked them up. I think the last thing I bought series episode by episode was the Frank Miller Dark Knight.
That's been a while.
Yeah, so yeah, a little out of touch on the day to day.
Nothing wrong with that. About a year ago, my boss sent me this, and it's
Oh, sorry, Quentin. I think I've lost you, mate.
Sorry about that. What the Wi-Fi is spotty from time to time here.
I've got you back.
Yeah, so when like I was saying before, the internet decided to not be so great. I received Wren in the mail, about almost a year ago, and from my boss, and I remember looking at it originally, seeing the, we were not supposed to, but judged a book on a cover and kind of went, "What is this?" But it was going, okay, you can't really tell the boss you don't do Windows, so yeah, I'll check it out. Ended up loving it, and the rest of the series that came thereafter. Have to ask, where did you get the idea to go with Wren?
Do you know the last thing that came to it was actually the title. Normally, it's the first thing that you get is a title, but it's a long story. The kind of short, because it takes 35 years to tell, right? I started writing the book before my kids were even born. My kids are all in their 30s now. I always read comics, always wanted to tell stories, and started writing it and drawing it. And then life got in the way. And I that's a terrible excuse for not doing something that you really passionate about, but I'm sure it happens to quite a lot of us. You've got something inside you that you want to do, and no excuses, and I'm not complaining about it, and made my choices and stuck to them, and did my day job as the very best I could, and didn't really think about it, didn't beat myself up for not pushing it further. It would have been nice, but didn't happen. And then in lockdown, I was going through the attic upstairs, and I found 12 pages of an untitled book, story. And I thought, hang on, this is a pandemic story, and we're kind of living through a pandemic at the moment. If the universe is ever telling me that the time is right to maybe see if I can dust this off and do it. I never found the original script. So the story, I think, is somewhat different to what I was intending 35 years ago. I have no clue what I was intending 35 years ago. But of those 12 pages, the first 4 pages of what you're holding in your hand were actually drawn fully 35, 36 years ago.
Wow.
So I just rewrote a script, took the shell of the idea of where it was going, and thought, let's get it done. And I originally did it, Quentin, more as a sort of an intellectual exercise for myself to see if I could write 24 pages of story. Had no intention really, even at that point, of showing it to anyone else. I did a couple of sort of online courses, hoping to sort of improve my storytelling. And sort of, how do you put a comic together? Just the sort of technical skills around it. And somebody mentioned on one of those courses, what do you intend to do with this? And I said, well, I'll send it to a publisher, because that's what I thought you did. And they introduced me to Kickstarter, which before Christmas 2020 I had literally never heard of, which is pretty sad. But, so I just went through seeing what I could learn about the sort of the creation process, put it on Kickstarter. It got some pretty decent uptake and interest from people, enough for me to fund a print run. So yeah, and then after that first issue, I thought, okay, I better work out where the story's supposed to go from here. I hadn't written the full story, or indeed, the full arc of the characters before that first one came out. And I'm kind of interested, because I know you really liked it. I wondered if any of the people who read it had been fooled by that or disconcerted by that. I didn't want it to be like a Rian Johnson Star Wars, where the story just takes a completely different direction in the middle of an arc. I think I patched it together fairly well, but other people, I guess, have to be the judge of that. But it was
for me, it was a nice. from my observations reading it, it was, with Christopher Wren, you can see him. He starts as Anakin, and so you can see him turning into Darth Vader, especially over the last couple. Because originally I was going, okay, this poor guy is just wrong spot at the right time, and and he's the guy that has to tell his bosses, sorry, it is what it is. And then when you come to realize that this was his plan from the beginning, that was kind of a wow.
Yeah, again, certainly when I wrote the first issue, I wasn't sure if I was going to throw him in that particular fire. But it's
pun intended.
Yes, exactly. The natural way for the character to go. There were some decisions to make on the second issue, and by the second issue, I had it all figured out the way I wanted it to go. And even then, I was desperately worried about the ending. Which I know you were really kind about, but so that was it was all heading in that direction for me. I loved the idea of the sort of decisions 400 years ago affecting us today, and wasn't sure. I guess the doubt part of it is, did it sound a little bit I woke up and it was all a dream kind of ending? A little too trite, but I think it landed, and I'm really proud of it in the end.
I don't think it sounded trite at all. From my observations in my line of work, wrapping up a series where it feels like a natural stopping point that leaves the reader not going, "What the hell was that?" It's not an easy task.
Definitely not.
And so being able to do that and be able to stick the landing, with a plot, with something that's plausible, where you can go, yes, I could see that working, and not being something where, okay, where the hell did you come up with that? No, that doesn't. So being able to, I didn't think of any of those things when I finished Wren. So you stuck the landing.
I love that expression. Thank you. I really appreciate it. You've been really kind about it.
Well, for me, stuck the landing. That's it's the gymnastics thing when you see them do bouncing around like a pinball and they lose points if when they do all these flips when they land, if they don't keep their feet together and all that. So being able to you talked about Kickstarter a little bit. And don't feel bad for not having heard of it. I'd heard of it, but I was so leery of it. I was going, absolutely not. The idea of, let me get this straight. I'm going to be sending money to a creator that I may or may not ever get a book back from.
Yeah.
And
it's weird.
And for me, it got compounded because the very first Kickstarter I actually backed, I still haven't gotten the book.
Really? There are a few, as I understand it, there are a few sort of legendary things that people have backed that don't come through. That makes me really uncomfortable. The idea of that happening. So I make it a personal thing to have the book before I kickstart anything. I have the book finished, or at least 95% finished, before I would even dream of launching anything. The idea of somebody. I do kind of like the idea of people supporting something that otherwise wouldn't get created. That's a really interesting sort of federated way of producing something that does appeal to me. But the thought that you can get nothing back at the end of it fills me with horror. I could never do that.
Yeah, because like I say that. That first book, from the author, we'll just call him, the initial A, his initial A and last name asshole. But I got, that was the first Kickstarter I ever backed, and like I say, never got it. The second one I ever backed was Todd McFarlane did, the series of the Spawn, a more detailed Spawn figure, and I was going, I want that. And then and I backed it, and then right after I backed it, I went, what did I do? And Because it wasn't a cheap one to back, so I was kind of going, but I also didn't want to hate myself for not backing it, and canceling it. So I backed it, and then it was right around the time the pandemic hit, hey, here's this book here's this figure that was supposed to be delivered in March, and March goes by and it's not here till April, May, and this thing, and you get an email from Mr. McFarland saying, yeah, I'm sorry, your figure is somewhere in the Pacific, it's in a container ship and can't get into harbor. So
yeah, it's really tough.
Yeah.
The positive side of it, of course, is I'll shorten it to a connection that you don't get in the direct market. And I think I've said on a couple of sort of thank you notes to people, when, should I ever be fortunate enough to sell comics in comic book stores, which I haven't done yet. Actually, that's not entirely true. There is a nice gentleman in Oregon somewhere. I'll remember the name of his company in a second, who contacted me after he saw Wren, and we've sold some books through his outlets. A really nice. Cool guy. I'll remember it in a sec. It's just gone out of my head for the minute. But it's kind of and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with it, but you're not connecting. You're connecting with an audience in a sort of transactional way, aren't you? You're sort of, I don't know who is buying it. They don't know, me, apart from, sleeve notes and things like that. But with Kickstarter, I feel there's a real connection and a real dialogue going on with the people that support it, that goes deeper than just sort of a writer-reader relationship. Even in things like creating the different rewards and the different little tchotchkes that you get along with it. I mean, I've got one of my little holographic stickers that I'm offering with the new campaign. Nice. I wouldn't have a chance to do that. I couldn't bundle that in a comic store. It would fall out.
Yeah, you could, but
it's great. We do things like signed message book plates and things, and you want to give the book as a gift to someone. You get to write them a sort of a birthday card or a Christmas card or something with it. It's fantastic. I think it's wonderful. I think that sense of connection, I think is a real privilege to have as an artist.
For any creator, I think it's a great connection. Kickstarter is the next best thing to actually meeting somebody at a con.
Totally agree.
And the trade-off to.
I've done one con, Quentin. That was in
which one did you do?
In London. I did. It was at Olympia in London, and I'm trying to. Names are going out of my head. It's my age, I'm afraid. The one at Olympia last February, and it was nice. I was very inexperienced, and I got to be honest, I didn't sell a lot of books. I met some really nice people. It was you know Doctor Who, right? You know Doctor Who. Just a little. This was Jodie Whittaker's first con that she'd done.
Oh my goodness! Did you get a chance to meet her, or was it?
I did not get a chance. I saw her, and I think she's wonderful. But really, the people at the con were there for Jodie Whittaker. They weren't, Artist Alley was a little empty. The majority of the time, they weren't looking for sort of new properties and new things. I think majority of people there, were there quite rightly for her, and Artist Alley was a little empty. Most of the ones where I'm told now that comics, are really looked at, I haven't been able to get a table. Big waiting lists. Can't get a table, and apart from going like like one of the old cigarette sellers in the cinema with a little tray round the neck, walking around outside the door. I guess I have to wait for my luck to change on that one. But I would love to do more of those. I thought Jodie Whittaker was a brilliant Doctor Who, by the way. For my money, the scripts let her down a bit. I think
that's the general concern.
years that they should have a female Doctor Who, and I think she was great, but the stories.
And that's just it. To me, just like Peter Capaldi, he wasn't a bad doctor. He had some great stories. He just couldn't. He didn't. Other than the the episode where with the Vikings on the guitar. Other than that, he was too serious all the time.
A little bit.
Or at least
Here's a question, Quentin. Could you understand a word he was saying?
Once in a while, he'd buy a vowel. Yes.
Yes. Because obviously I'm English rather than Scottish. I struggled understanding what he was saying a lot of the time. I thought character-wise, I thought he would be amazing. I agree with you. I think maybe it didn't quite land, the way I was hoping it could. When do you get them? Do you get them at the same time as we get them?
I get for me personally, because we cut cords from from all the satellite and cable TVs, so we don't have BBC network on it, or the BBC on any of our streaming services. So for me, I usually get them when I've paid for them through Vudu. I buy each episode as it comes along.
Right.
And with my 9 to 5, I flirt with between 60 and 70 hours a week anymore. And I've got another job that takes up a bit of time on top of having a family. So the amount of time I get to actually watch TV, it doesn't happen often.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It has to be rationed. I'm looking forward to there's doing 3 Christmas specials or 3 end of year specials, hour-long episodes. And have you heard what's happening with the transformation away from Jodie Whittaker?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm very tentative.
Yeah, no, it's true. They've shown clips on the TV, so it's absolutely true.
I've seen it from some clips of social media from Mr. Tennant, and his camp.
One of the wonderful things about him is he really loves being Doctor Who. There's no don't typecast me, or I'm too big for this now. Thanks, Doctor Who, for getting me this far, but I'm on my. He absolutely loved it, didn't he? And I'm so glad he guessed it.
Was at a con that he because he and Billy Piper came across to go to a con here, and in fact that was my whole reason for going to that con. And, I was talking to Billy Piper about Top Gear,
right?
Because and hey, I should get bonus points for being an American that knows who Jezza is. But, I was talking with Billy about about who her favorite guy from the team was, and somehow we ended up getting on the topic of just how much Tennant and Richard Hammond look alike.
Yeah, now you mention it, yeah.
And they did their a Q&A panel, which for a beyond packed room. In fact, we ended up sitting through the panel before to make sure we had seats.
Right.
And and then they started doing something which I get it, and I also really don't. I like it, and I don't. They because it used to be you could sit pop in, sit down for a panel to be able to and wait for the next one. And now they've made it. If you were in the room for the previous panel, they flush you out.
Right.
So if you have the misfortune that the same room has back-to-back panels you really want, you may or may not get them both.
Is that do you pay one fee for the day's panels then, or do you pay per panel?
No, it's that one fee is for everything that the con has to offer. As far as panels and all that. The interactions and all that with some of the the different with the artist alley the interactions with the creators there, how much that'll cost. It's not attached to it.
Right. I've got you.
Yeah.
That's a difficult one, isn't it? Because if you happen to have a passing interest in one thing and a real passionate interest in one thing, and you get stuck in the wrong bit and get flushed around and miss what you really love, that's what we really love.
And that's part of why I quit. I quit going to Seattle's Comic-Con because it used to be okay. All this. It was a huge facility. Multiple floors. It went across the street with a skywalk, and that was great. And you had all those, and then all your celebrity stuff. The meet and greets, elbow rubbing, and all. Get your photo ops and all that were right literally across the street. Now across the street is about 6 blocks away.
Right.
And on one of the days that I was there, it was pouring.
Right.
And I was going, let me get this straight. You expect these fans to go 6 blocks in the rain, pouring, and along the way, just from the laws of physics, you're going to lose, just in travel time, you're going to miss out on something. And because I met
and you got to travel to get there too. It's a lot.
Yeah, and figuring out parking, because parking for that con is $25 a day. Oh. I'm not quite sure what the conversion rate is, but it's for dollars to pound. It's still significant.
Yeah, absolutely. It's well, you already know comics are an expensive hobby.
Oh,
sometimes
more than others.
How much money I'm looking at sitting on the wall behind you?
Out of pocket versus the good fortune of timing being everything. My favorite story is the Fantastic Four number 48. I got that for $20.
Wow.
I was at a toy show. Right now, if I were to sell, I could easily get it probably $1,000.
Really? Don't sell it.
I was at a toy show and saw it on the rack, and it was near the end of the show, and went, "Oh my goodness, can I?" And talking to the vendor, "Can I hold it for a second just to be able to say I held one at one time?"
Oh.
And he was cool. He was cool. He goes, "You went, you do realize that's for sale?" I said, "Yeah, I do." And I also, do you realize that with the amount of cash I have in my pocket, it would be an insult to offer it? And he went, "Tell you what, $20 and it's yours."
No.
I went, "You're kidding." He went, "Yeah, the cancer's come back. This is my last show. The kids have no idea what the hell any of this stuff is worth, and I don't want to see it going for a buck at a flea market when I can see it go to somebody that appreciates it for what it is."
That's beautiful. We look after it, cherish it. That's
So it's been right there it's right there, and it's not going anywhere.
Love it.
But redirecting stuff a little bit. We were talking about Kickstarter, and you've got a book that's going on to Kickstarter.
I do. Want to hear a little bit?
So let's talk. Let's talk a little bit. We got. I'm brought up the page so people can see it. You got. With Pioneers, Blood and Stars. And congratulations, you've already cleared your stretch goal, which to anybody watching, that means if you back this project, you're getting your book.
You are absolutely getting your book. I'm absolutely thrilled about that. And we're now past 4 stretch goals, which means there's lots of extra stuff that we've announced, some extra digital bits, some extra physical bits for people who have an interest in the book. The book itself is a significant departure for me. I'm swapping 17th century London for somewhere off the coast of Saturn. There's an ice
Yeah,
moon.
I could
Yeah,
see
go
that.
on.
From
It's a little different.
which I'm all for. Different is good. I can appreciate diversity. So for anybody that's not familiar with it, with Pioneers, Blood and Stars, what are we getting? What's your elevator pitch on that? How would you describe that briefly?
I'm gonna let a vampire run. Do you remember? I'm terrible at pitches. Do you, or do you think your viewers will remember an old Sean Connery movie called Outland? I think it was about 1983.
I don't recall that one, but
it's not a bad movie. Kind of stands up, test of time wise. It was set in a mining colony off of Jupiter on Io. And it was but it was a sort of it was a cop drama. It was Blade Runner before Blade Runner, right? It was
okay.
It was just he's a marshal on this mining colony, and there's a problem with drugs that the company that runs it knows all about it, and it only becomes a problem when people start getting so stoned they keep going out of the airlocks without their suits on. So you've got a bit of intrigue in there of who's really running the show, and a bit of cop drama as well. And you kind of got Sean Connery doing Sean Connery, and I've always really liked that film. And I thought I don't want to rewrite that because that's really good. But what is the funkiest thing that I could think of that is going to happen when mankind starts reaching out? Because we're a lot closer to that now. You've got companies in business, who are thinking of mining asteroids and all that kind of thing. And I'm thinking, rather than just sci-fi, this is now probably going to happen at some point. And I started thinking, what else is going to happen when that stuff starts happening? And much as I'm not a big sort of horror vampire type fan of in my reading choices, I thought, well, mankind isn't necessarily the only species that is going to reach out and start exploring, further than this planet. And it came, it sort of started tapping at the back of my head. What if there was a vampire running loose around this mining colony? And I'm going to do a few slightly more fun things with this character. And this is the only spoiler I'm going to give you in this, Quentin. What if she's not actually the bad guy? Now, I know a lot of what you'll read on the campaign, on the campaign page, kind of suggests that it's a bog standard. Hang on, there's a vampire running around, dark alleyways on an unsuspected planet. But for your listeners, I'm going to say it's a little bit more than that. She's not actually going to be the big bad of the story. There is one, and you'll find out more about that when you start to read the book. But I've tried to make her interesting. I'm a nearly 60-year-old man who should never use the word sexy, but I've tried to make her, kind of sexy, without embarrassing myself too much. It's and bring some unlikely friendships into it. So you've got, these guys are going to end up as a little cadre against some of the things that are going on in this place. So it's kind of more than just an alien story. There's a entity running around darkly or dimly lit corridors, and try and do something just a little different with it. Yeah. I've done the story, the story across 5 books. This time, obviously, we've only drawn issue 1, so it's going to be a 5-part story. I've done all the art myself, as I normally do, but I really, really suck at colouring, Quentin. So always keen to work with.
I beg to differ.
No, this is not my
differ from what I can see. the coloring that I'm looking at here as I'm scrolling through, so people can get a glimpse of, hey, here's what you're getting with this book, and it's not bad.
No, that's not mine. Trust me, that's not mine. In fact, the only thing that you've ever seen of mine that I coloured myself is the front cover of the first Wren, which you have there. That's the level of my colouring. Now, it's not complete, not completely awful, but I wouldn't even know where to start colouring sequentials. My mind just doesn't seem to go that way towards depth and colouring and things. My line art's okay, but I've on this one, an absolute privilege to work with a gentleman called Falk Hansel, who's based in Canada, and he's an absolute genius. I think on here where it's where there's a section that says meet the team, there's a link that you can go to see more of Falk's work, and he's an artist in his own right. He did the cover of Wren 3, that the one with that
London Burning.
He really, really incredibly talented guy, and it's a real privilege to be working with him. He's and a really nice chap as well. He's offered me lots of advice on the story and the art and where to go and what to do with panels. So it feels much more like a collaboration than a lot of the work that we did on Wren.
I'm just looking at this cameo bundle. Let me get this straight. For 200 pounds, I can be carried off by a 6 foot vampire woman. Interesting.
I'm afraid so. And we put we did a cameo. If you just scroll down a tiny little bit further, I don't know if you remember, Quentin. We did a cameo. There you go. There's the Wren one. We did a cameo in Wren. I put it in the campaign more for a laugh. People were saying to me, you should have a couple of high-end rewards. And I'd seen a couple of these backer cameos that you can do. So basically, if you pledge at that level, I'll draw you into the comic. And often people do that, and you just kind of get one panel, maybe you're facing a crowd kind of thing. But I wanted to do a little bit more than that. So this gentleman, who's actually from Texas, his wife bought it for him as a birthday gift.
That's cool.
We got some photos of Bruce. We wrote him into the comic. You know how I said I like to have the comic finished before I launched the Kickstarter? Yeah, that was a bad move because I had to change 18 pages because I didn't think anyone would take it up. And when they said they wanted to do it, I thought, crap, who am I going to make him? And I thought, no, this is probably only going to do this once. So rather than just a face in a crowd, we made him King Charles II. That's a promotion.
That works.
Yep. So we changed. I think it was 18 panels that we changed and added Bruce.
Oh man!
And we liked it so much, even though historically most of the characters in the book kind of look like who they're supposed to. Except King Charles II, who looks like a balding Texan. We liked the way it looked so much. We kept his likeness in with his permission for issue 4 as well. So we were consistent throughout. So yes, we're doing that again in the campaign and offering people. And actually, there were 2. We found space in the book for 2 cameos, and they've both been bought. I can't believe it.
Nice.
Yeah, amazing.
Congratulations! You're getting.
Thank you.
That's where you're definitely starting to get somewhere. Where when people are signing up, going, yes, I want to be a character in your book.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that. Yeah. So. Yeah, so it looks like with Pioneer Blood and Stars, we got all sorts of fun stuff coming our way. I'm very much looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Thank you. I think it's going to be, I say, it's a 5-book series at the moment, and the 5th book is going to complete the story because I don't like things where you get to the end of a series and they leave too much hanging open. But there is opportunity to move into a second phase. There's I won't call it a cliffhanger at the end, but there's a further reveal at the end, which leaves the door open for another series. Should I be lucky enough to get support to do that? But the arc will complete, and it's a complete story. If nothing else further is ever written, it won't leave people dissatisfied. I promise.
Excellent. Speaking of being satisfied, yesterday here in the States, very big food holiday.
Yep.
With
Thanksgiving. Everybody. Yep.
And I'm a bit of a lot of a foodie, so there's always something where I'm going, ooh, I want more of that, and and that's one thing I've learned over the years. I don't care who you are, we all have a favorite food, or a favorite snack. For me, my wife makes this thing with Brussels sprouts and like an Alfredo sauce and bacon and some other type of cheese, and I can easily eat the entire pan by myself. Unfortunate side effect, it makes a room uninhabitable for about an hour. But do you have any foods that you absolutely love like that?
I like an awful lot of food. I got to be honest. I tell you one thing that you have there that we do not have here for some reason. Or we don't call it the same thing, and we don't prepare it the same way, is prime rib. I absolutely love. Now you would think that we were sort of pretty down with the idea of a roast dinner, right? But prime rib. I remember when I got it with that that little jug of gravy that they sometimes bring it with. Is absolute heaven to me. So I'm a bit of a carnivore with that, and prime rib absolutely bowls me over. But it's one of the things with my day job, which was in IT, before I sort of started doing this full time. I travelled in America a fair amount, and absolutely, I'm a big Amerophile. I absolutely love it over there, and spent a lot of time in New York and in Alabama, all sorts of places.
That's where with those two, you're getting the best in both of worst of the world, sir.
Yeah.
You got New York, one of the centers of culture for the world, and then you've got Alabama, where people have more guns than teeth.
And yes, and you can drive from the age of about 8, which is a bit worrying. But both have their plus points,
drawbacks,
and the food is one of them. Alabama and Texas barbecue. I'm big on. My wife would fight you over the point around Brussels sprouts. I've got to be honest with you. They're not allowed, haven't been allowed in our house in many years. Brussels sprouts. You're kind of either, you can't sit on the fence with that one. You're either for or against. It's yeah. But yes, American food. Love a burger. Love a barbecue. Love it. Food. Hungry now.
Yeah. And it's rightfully so. It's probably right somewhere either dinner time or snack time over there, before bed over there.
On for supper time. Yeah. Getting on for. We also have kind of an important soccer match on this evening. I don't know.
Oh, that's right. World Cup's tonight.
Yeah, we're playing you tonight.
Yeah, Wales against the. Yeah, well.
Yeah, no. Wales against Iran was this morning, and in about 10 minutes' time, England versus the USA.
Oh, okay. Well, I know I'm American, but truthfully, I have zero vested interest in this game. No,
I totally get that. I don't know many Americans who do. You have.
Well, I remember the last World Cup game I watched was. It was the final game. It was Team USA versus Japan. For the women. Almost 10 years ago, and I remember just going. Japan was supposed to be one of the best in the world, and the amount of stuff where I was going, did that just happen? The goalkeeper got burned on a shot because on a shot that wasn't really a shot. It was just a clearing. The defender cleared the ball and it went too high and bounced over the goaltender's head and rolled in from beyond midfield.
Yeah,
because the goaltender got caught.
Right.
And and it was a really bad game.
It's far bigger for over there. It's a far bigger sport for women even now than it is for the men's. My preference is for the men's game. I like watching the women's game too, but it's a cultural thing. We all get very wrapped up in the World Cup over here. I
don't blame you, because it's bragging rights over countries that are all right next to you. I can't say we're on an island, but we're so far from physically we're so far away that it's for us it's like hockey with USA versus Canada.
Yeah, and
that's.
Yeah, and I got to say, taking away our soccer is like taking away a Canadians' hockey. Mm-hmm. It's just so ingrained in the culture.
And I get that. It actually kind of, in some ways, it kind of astonishes me that because where I'm at in the States, we've got I'm about a 90-minute drive from Canada.
Yeah,
and the amount of love we don't have for hockey here.
I know it is strange. It is strange being so close, but
what
is your do you follow sports at all, Quentin?
I follow baseball a lot. My son absolutely loves baseball, and so I make sure to follow it enough where I can be able to talk to him about it and be able to carry on a conversation and actually sound like I know what the hell I'm talking about, which
very important with children.
It kind of helped. I grew up a Yankees fan just because so much history with Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, and we got to watch a season like that with all of the above with Aaron Judge this year.
Right.
The guy was 4 base hits away from a triple crown. And,
I don't know what triple crown is, but it sounds good.
Batting title, most home runs, most runs batted in, all in the same season.
Okay. Oh no, that is a big deal. And what is your local team there?
Well, our local team for baseball, it's a minor league. It's a Class A minor league. So the very the very bottom of the minor leagues.
Yep. Okay.
I tried out there years ago, and went for that was the day I realized best and worst day of my life, because hey, I'm on the field with guys that were drafted.
Yep.
And a couple of those guys that were drafted made me look like an idiot. Best and worst day of my life.
I know.
When
sometimes it's just
when
nice
you realize
to share a field with them, right?
Yeah, but when you realize, the dream is over.
Yes.
But but what a ride.
Yeah, you get to say, I saw a good game. I didn't play a good game, but I saw a good game.
But it was, that, and it didn't help that the practice we had with the tryouts were at a field where fly balls go to die.
Right.
If you don't, but. So, did you play any sports when you back in the day, or just the soccer? Or
grew up playing soccer, but actually our family sport is, this will make you laugh because it is a real sport over here. Is field hockey, which over there is what is what girls play at in high school is field hockey for you. But over here, it was my family sport. My father picked it up in the army, in his time in India. Because national sport of India and Pakistan hockey, came back with it, and we've been playing ever since. All my kids played. I haven't got any of my grandkids playing yet, but I do intend to. So that's our family sport. I have a game tomorrow. I don't know how. My knees don't really allow me to run anywhere anymore. But if anyone comes near me, I have a large stick. So that's
that, or you can play keeper.
Exactly. And it's nice and social. There's lots of beer involved afterwards. That's the main thing.
Absolutely. And I don't pass judgment. I don't care what your sport is. If you're passionate about it, you're having fun, who cares?
Exactly. Long time dead, right?
I have trouble understanding why people love American football as much as they do. But
it's more than the game, though, isn't it? It's part of the culture.
Well, you've been in Alabama. You tell me. Roll Tide. So going back from sports, I've experienced that a lot of creators also spend a lot of time reading just to make sure, a combination of making sure that they have the material they're creating hasn't already been done. Do you have anything that you're currently reading?
That's a great question. The last, again, I'm spending a lot of time and money on Kickstarter at the moment because I didn't really realize that this indie community existed and was capable of creating the incredible work that they do. So I'm really enjoying, reading that. One of the best things I've picked up, and I'm sure you won't have seen this, but there's a podcast, a Scottish podcast called the Brewgooders. They kind of split their time between talking about comic books and beer. So when you go on the podcast, you're invited to get yourself a sort of a craft beer and talk about that for half an hour, and then we might talk about comics for 5 minutes at the end, kind of thing, which is a really nice way of doing it. But they released an anthology earlier this year, actually on Kickstarter. Again, it's one of those smaller Kickstarter campaigns. Didn't really get the traction that I think it deserved, but some of the storytelling in that is the best I've read in years. It's absolutely fantastic. Some really poignant, beautiful storytelling. I would love to be able to write with the beauty and poetry that they've managed in some of those stories. So that is something that I've been reading. I did read for the first time The Underwater Welder a little while ago.
I'm not sure if I'm familiar with that one.
Can I grab it off the shelf? I'll see if he's the cover. Yeah, it's a. Where have we gone? Here we go. Here we go.
Okay.
It's a Jeff Lemire.
Okay, Mr. Lemire.
Yeah.
He also gave us We Only Find Them When They're Dead.
Yes. And this is it's kind of been described as a bit of a sort of a Twilight Zone episode.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's just a beautiful, really touching story that goes far beyond the story, the physical story that it's actually telling. It goes into, the emotional side of what's going on with the characters as well in a really beautiful way. Maybe the art is not for everyone on it. It's quite sort of simple. It's all black and white.
I've seen that before. There's some kind of
style, that kind of style. But it's a really, really, really super book. Really impressive writing.
Mm-hmm.
What about yourself?
There's all sorts of good stuff. Going back to a statement you made a few minutes ago about it wasn't really that big a Kickstarter. I beg to differ, because to a creator, I don't care how many, what the Kickstarter is, to the creator of it, it's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. Trust me, I meant no disrespect to them. I said it only in the way that I wish it had done better. You know what I mean? I wish it had been one of those ones that just got.
Oh, I totally understand that some of the stuff I've come across where I'm going, how are more people not reading this, and go and not I've got there's probably about 4 different small press publisher titles that are out there where I'm going, is the next one out yet? And every 3 weeks I send them a message, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
I love it.
Because there have been a couple where, like I say, it's just been, oh my God. The surgeon
really
from
out there, right?
There's lots of great stuff out there. The surgeon from Unlikely Hero Studios. Oh my God.
Really?
It's it's kind of a post-apocalyptic Old West story. And they're through 5 issues. They're working on number 6, and the entire time it's just been, I'm going more of that, and that one's enjoyable. From the historical fiction point of view, Garth Ennis and Steve Epling. With Garth Ennis, you probably know him best for The Boys. But in this one, it's a book called Sarah. He writes about a female squadron of World War II snipers from Russia.
Right.
And Steve Epting, who did the artwork for Marvel when we got to meet the Winter Soldier. Those two paired up on, oh my God, that's good.
Isn't it great when you find something that's really fresh and there's nothing like it.
That was late 2019 or so, and it was my first. That was my first real introduction to indie and small press, where beyond stuff where because to me, Image, while yes, it is an indie comic because it's not Marvel, it's not DC. Anything that for it to be indie, it shouldn't be something where whether I don't care which side of the pond you're on. You're familiar with The Walking Dead.
Yep.
You're familiar with G.I. Joe. You're familiar with Ninja Turtles. You're familiar with Spawn. These are by definition they're all indie books.
Yeah.
But they're household name indie books. So to me, the concept of something that just a regular story. That was one of the books that really hit home for me.
That's super. I've noted it down.
Yeah. For other things, one of the other ones that hit home for just about everywhere over generations, Star Wars. I don't care who you are. We have, everybody has a favorite one. Everybody that comes on my show, they get to go on the Force board where you can see all of the different episodes. You got all the different episodes. The prequels, the original trilogy, the last 3. Then you've got Solo, Ewoks, and Rogue One as well.
Right.
And like I say, every single person that comes on the show gets added to the list there. And so with that, where would I put that one at?
That would have to be A New Hope. If we're sticking with the films and not the series, it would be A New Hope. I love A New Hope. If I was allowed several votes, I would say my absolute favorite segment is the first 40 minutes of Empire. I love the Hoth stuff, but what happens in the second phase of the movie, I never enjoyed so much. So as a full package, it's A New Hope for me. Episode 4, which I first saw when I was 10 or 11 years old. My mum took me.
Yeah, we got you.
How's A New Hope getting on that scoreboard?
It's fairly high up there. You're in some good company. Jim Thompson, who, for anybody who follows my all my the writing I do, That's Lord Trekker for the reference. He's one of my best friends. Huge Star Trek fan. He actually paid the that money to for the thing you see on the advertisement. For this price, you can be called Lord. So he's Lord. We call him Lord Trekker.
Love it.
But you got him. You're with Chris Morey, who works for Toho doing Godzilla.
Okay.
Before that, he did a lot of lettering for IDW and a little bit of writing for some Transformer stuff and Godzilla stuff there. Tony Fleeks, the guy that wrote Stray Dogs.
Wow.
Shannon Potratz, he's a local artist who's he wrapped up when he came on the show. He had just wrapped up doing a project with Cullen Bunn. And this guy named Peter Taylor, who did this awesome British series about about the plague.
Oh, bless you.
There's some good you're in good company there.
Excellent. Where's yours, Quentin? Where's your sticker?
My sticker is on episode 6.
Oh, okay.
For me, I realized that Jedi was just for the most part was a bunch of Muppets, but it was one of my all-time best memories with Dad. Dad took me. I remember being god awful hot and feeling like we were waiting forever for the theater to open, and of course time is relative when you're that young.
Yep.
Everything from Jabba's palace to speeder bike chase. It was and then I remember doing that, and then afterwards we went out for lunch, and I got got a chicken McNugget Happy Meal, and Dad had gotten me a bunch of packs of the Return of the Jedi Star Wars cards.
Wow.
So it was overall one of my to this day, here we are 30-something years, or hell 40-something years later almost, and it's still one of my best days ever.
That's fantastic. I think I've heard a lot of reasons for people giving their Star Wars votes in a number of ways, but I've never heard a better one than that.
For me, lost Dad during COVID. It not because of COVID, but because he of his medical condition and what I do in my 9 to 5, I wasn't able to be around him very much for the last year. Just trying, doing my damn just to try and keep him, healthy. Hey, love you, and I love you, so I can't be over there.
Yeah.
And that worked out well.
It's been a tough time. I lost both my parents, and my wife lost her remaining parent just a couple of years ago, all within a fairly quick string of each other. And it doesn't matter how old you are; it's tough. It's tough. So I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, there's. Thank you. But the other side of that is, like we talked a little bit about before. Downside, a lot of crazy happened, a lot of bad shit happened. At least over here, the amount of stuff where it became a political weapon. It wasn't, rather than actually going, hey, we have a problem, we need to, let's do something about this. It became a political weapon. It became something, it became about money, because hospitals were attaching more money to any death certificate that had the word COVID on it for God knows what reason.
Oh my God.
So we'll never know the true impact of how bad things really were because of that. Because if you're getting if hospitals are getting an extra $10,000 ahead for because the word COVID was on the death certificate, absolutely they're gonna have people chart things wrong.
So it's very tough. It's been a very difficult time for everybody. Very difficult time for everybody.
But the upside of that is, at least from my observations, it brought out the best and worst. And what surprised me was some of the people that you expected, from my interactions with before, where I was going, you're a real shit, and watching them step up, was surprising. And the other side of that is some people that I used to think were pretty stellar, not so much.
Yeah.
But,
I think it's done that to all of us. I honestly do. I think it's done that to all of us. You're not alone there. I'm still reeling from it. Got to be honest with you. I'm still not, entirely comfortable out in public, and for all sorts of reasons. It's been really, really tough. Really, really tough.
all that, and for for me, the big observation is over for here. Jobs like waitressing, and things of that nature, where people have been assholes and looking at them. You don't need a tip if you want it. If you want your tip, and you want to make more money, you need to go to school. You need to get a better job. During COVID, they did, and now people are pissing and moaning because their favorite
no one wants to wait tables anymore. Yeah, good for them. I no, it's been tough. One of my sons was an actor, and that of course was decimated by COVID, and he's had to change career completely, and he's working in teaching now. So it's not even in ways that you couldn't possibly have imagined. It's been a massive upheaval for people. I'm very glad we're out of it, nearly out of it.
I am too, because as much as I enjoyed having all sorts of time to read and write, I also didn't enjoy having all sorts of time to read and write.
I know what you mean. Yeah, it can be. It's unhealthy, right? It's unhealthy.
Well, it is. I don't think we realize just how much we really need. COVID to me showed us just how much we actually need human interaction. Because one of my boys, he's a social butterfly. And we didn't realize just how much he needed that until all this, and trying to explain to him, this is why you can't go hang out with your friends.
Yeah, it's been really tough. Really tough. Oh, how did we get onto that?
Well, because we go, anything and everything is fair game.
Yep.
Over the course, and that's one of the things I love about doing this is because we're gonna talk about your books. We're gonna talk about all things geek a little bit, but then from there, hey, we go where the conversation takes us.
Thanks, man.
But I'm gonna let you get going though, because hey, you've got some World Cup soccer to watch.
I really do, and some supper to eat.
And I've got and for me, I've got a couple of small businesses that I need to go support because it's one of the biggest shopping days of the year over in the States.
Indeed. And do you have any planned purchases for Black Friday?
My planned purchase for Black Friday, my local comic book store is doing 20% off everything in the store. So
what time's it open?
So I need to get some more. I need to get some more long boxes because a few of mine are starting to be in tatters. So I need to replace. If everything goes the way I want, I'm going to probably pick up like 3 or 4 of those and replace them. I'm already done Christmas shopping.
Wow, that's impressive.
Well, my wife and I usually start right around the beginning of summer. That way, you've got all this time, so you can find the right thing for everybody rather than just I hope this works. And
I know what you mean.
So I'm done with that.
Very organized in a way that I am not.
You think I'm organized? I beg to differ. When you look over there, that's just a portion of my reading stack.
Oh my heavens!
I've got 2 short boxes and the stack there next to the Transformer. That's my reading stack, and so the amount, I truly mean it when I tell people it wasn't personal. It got lost in the stack. And the stacks change from week to week because every week there's damn it all, there's new Comic Book Wednesday, and there's some stuff there's some weeks where there's one book that I've been looking forward to that automatically gets promoted to the top, and then there's other weeks where it's an oh my god, it's like that that meme where you see the guy what with the amount of different stuff all in the same week.
Well, it was an honor for me to have been part of that stack.
And you're going to be part of it again because I backed.
You did. That's so touching. As I've said before, Quentin, it's great when family and friends support the books. It's great when comic book fans support the books. Everything's amazing, but there's nothing quite like someone who is as deeply knowledgeable and loves the medium as you do. Actually, supporting the book with putting your hand in your pocket, and I really hope you enjoy this one. It means so much.
Part of it is that that way I can be honest. This it wasn't this wasn't a comp that I was given to read about. I paid for this. I have every right to talk about it exactly how I feel about it.
I'm going to do everything I can to make it worth every dollar.
And I have no doubt of that. I'm looking forward to it. But like I say, that's a big part of why I can go, okay, hey, at $5, yeah, it was worth it. As a geek, I'm a geek on a budget. We're all geeks on budgets.
Yeah, I love that.
So yeah, at $4 or $5, yeah, it was worth the price of admission. For some of the, and that's generally the case because if you're a fan of something, there's going to be some little snippet of that each book that you took with you that made you go, yes, that was worth it. But when you start getting to some of these thicker books, like we were talking about with the Batman One Bad Day books, or some of the other stuff, when you're starting to get to $7, $8, $9 an issue, at that point, this better be good.
Yeah.
Yes. The Batman One Bad Day, so far, I have not had one bad book. They're 3 for 3. All of them have been good.
That's marvelous.
The Riddler one I liked. The Two-Face one I liked. I'm just about done writing about the Penguin one. Those have all been, they've been they've parred the whole, if not exceeded expectations, which with an $8 cover that takes some doing.
Who is drawing them, Quentin?
It depends on the book. They're all one shots. Different writer, different artist.
I'm gonna go look them up. Look them up. I like the self-contained part. I like the fact that they're self-contained.
Each one is a one shot.
Yeah.
So you're not going in and going, oh my God, I'm committed for 12 issues at $6 a shot.
Yeah, but to be honest, over here it's not. It's partly that monetary commitment, but also it's hard to find them sometimes. You get halfway through a series and they say I can't get them anymore over here. Happens a lot.
I hadn't thought of that. Something that may work, and to me, it also flies in the face of trying to maintain, keep a small business afloat, because, and I used to do it where I would have all of my books through an online company where, okay, just and pre-order everything, but I found that titles were falling through the cracks for the new stuff I didn't hear about.
Right. Yeah.
But if you're in a position where you don't have anything, because from what you were saying, the only two comic book stores that were close to you are gone now.
Yep.
That might be a route to go.
Yeah. I definitely I'm going to give it a try. And like you say, but it's hard to know where to start with those when you're just scrolling through a whole bunch of stuff that looks the same.
That and the one that really gets me is the people that aren't familiar, although they're not that familiar with comics, but they want to get into comics so they can make their millions. That one just makes me laugh. If
you meet that guy or lady, then do introduce me. I have some words for them.
Realistically, what I tell people, buy what you like. If it makes money, awesome. If it doesn't, you got what you like.
Yep, well put. You have a nice turn of phrase, Quentin. And again, thank you not only for backing the book, but for writing so beautifully about it. I so enjoyed.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
And on that bombshell, folks, we're going to cut it short, and because Mr. Taylor needs to get some dinner and watch some football, and I need to go spend obscene amounts of money at a comic book store. So until next time, gang, thanks for watching. I'll see you later.
Take care.
Yeah.